I don't know who needs to hear this, but when you start out any relationship, y'all should probably go to therapy. Don't come to me when you in crisis. Come to me before that and actually get those tools so that you guys can have a healthy relationship.
I don't know who needs to hear this thing, but
welcome back to the Park Car Conversation. It is so great to have you guys back. We are here again at Frontier Fine Cars, the only place. If y'all need a car, this is the trustworthy people. You know I wouldn't tell you something that I don't believe in, and I'm standing here and I put my brand here. And if you want to put your brand here, it can happen also. Lovelace Candles is sitting here. Send us an email. My team will get you sorted out. We're going to stand on our business and we're going to promote and pour into our businesses in this year. So this could also be you. Let's talk at jlueche.com. Today we have a topic. Oh, girl, do we have a topic? This is for all the freaky people.
Stop this.
No, but literally though, today's topic, we're going to be speaking about open relationships. Sips of tea. And I have Dani here.
Let me literally sip the tea.
Let me literally sip the tea. This is about to be a spicy one. Mm-hmm. Dani is a psychotherapist. Also someone that I've known for a long time. You've watched me grow up.
Literally.
We've seen it all.
You've seen it all.
From our parents' age. And you know what I mean? Seeing them grow up.
Exactly.
And so, you know, I just want to put it out there publicly. I'm going to give myself a little bit of flowers. I just officially finished 6.5 months of weekly therapy. I'm going to give myself a little...
No, honestly, that's big.
It took a lot out of me because I'm like, you know what? Certain things I just can't figure out on my own. Mm-hmm. I stopped trying to just mash up people's life. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go to therapy. People always talk about this thing called therapy. Let me go, take a look at it. And it has done wonders. Wow. So I don't know who needs to hear this today. Therapy can be an avenue for you. Once you realize that you can't figure it out on your own, you're trying and it's not working, therapy might be a really good option. And so open relationships. Dang, Dani.
Yes, girl. Well, open relationships, you already know, right? It's 2024. Clearly, people are exploring. They're seeing what is out here, what is for me, right? Whether it's polyamorous relationships, open relationships, monogamous and whatnot. You know, they really are out here exploring and seeing, you know, what the different options are. I'm sure all of us know someone who is in an open relationship, or maybe we've even thought about it ourselves.
Don't speak for me, Dani. Don't speak for me, Dani.
Hey. But you know what? This is a time where we can like kind of talk about it and just, And I see it a lot with my clients for sure. Like I have numerous clients that are in different types of open relationships.
Okay, so I'm just going to put this out there. This would be like a conversation starter.
Yeah.
If you invite other entities or energies into your relationship. And now, I mean, everyone defines relationships in two different ways. I'm thinking 100. Relationship A, B. As an A, B. You add C in it and C is good until A sees C by itself. And now B is pissed off and the math just starts to not math. Mm-hmm. Are these realistic things that like come to your door? Hey, therapist, now we're going through a situation. How do are they looking to debunk this? We want to go back to A and B? Or what's the case that normally happens here?
I find, honestly, every situation is different. I do have some clients where it's, you know, maybe just it's the man that wants the open relationship. Maybe it's the woman that wants the open relationship. And maybe it's just one partner, or where both want to be able to be open. But in some cases, maybe just one partner wants to be the one that's open and they want the other one to be monogamous, right? So honestly, in these relationships, it's all about communication and figuring out what are going to be the norms within your particular relationship, you know, and what that looks like. But I think we already briefly like chatted about this before, that we're both kind of more of the, you know, conservative
I was just about to
types
ask you.
relationship wise,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so am I. But being a therapist, you're going to hear and see just about everything, right? So you actually have to open even your own mindset to these different norms and different realities and help people figure out what is for them and what's not. Because that's what I think. It's really like, do you actually want this, you know? And if you're not sure, okay, let's explore this and let's see how to explore it in a safe way for you.
Okay, so this is a realist. Let's say I was in an open relationship, which I'm not.
Okay.
Okay, but if I was, I'm going to go to my therapist, and I want to know from my therapist's point of view. So you personally would not be in an open relationship yourself.
Me personally, no, not me personally.
From hearing your client's point of view, has it ever sparked your ear and be like, oh, I can see why they do this?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, walk me through that.
I can see certain benefits because you're not looking to one person for everything, right? So I kind of see that, like, okay, having two women in the household, hey, that would be half the cooking, half the cleaning. Like, you know what I mean? I could see certain benefits from being in an open relationship, right? Obviously, I can also see the potential, pitfalls of that and the cons too. But I have been in conversations with clients where I'm like, well, that don't sound too bad. Or 3 incomes in a household in this economy, that could work too.
I think you're finding the silver lining in those things. And I'm going to put it out here because I'm more of those people. I will be damned. Please do not try to entertain a third party. It's not happening because then there's going to be a third party on my side. You're not going to like that. You're not going to like it. So I'm just being realistic. I think this is 2024, like you said. A lot of people that I know, they're into the swinger lifestyle. They try to recruit people. This is Parker conversation, okay? This is being very realistic.
Yep.
They try to get other people involved in their relations. And I always try to wonder, I'm like, how deep is it though? Is it just for the sake of fun? Can y'all not have fun together? Do you need more fun?
I don't know who needs to hear this today, but if you walk into Frontier Fine Cars or fill out a form online and tell them that the Park Car sent you, you will get $500 towards a down payment of your car off the bat. This is for the people with no credit, with bad credit, working on your credit. You will not get denied. They work out the best low interest rates, low payment plans. They have an extensive fleet of vehicles. But if you see a car that's not there, they will outsource it for you just to ensure that you have a seamless process. I personally would not steer y'all in the wrong direction. I know enough people that have gotten their cars at Frontier Fine Cars. So from us to you, enjoy the rest of the episode.
I think, okay. And you know what? I understand what you mean. Because you're like, do you need more fun? And you're like, how much is too much almost, right? Is that kind of where you're going with it? Or thinking it could be a slippery slope, basically?
Like someone out there is watching this and they're a swinger. And like this is their lifestyle. And I'm not saying this works for some people.
Oh, 100.
It doesn't work for others. But I do see, because I've seen the side where there becomes issues.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember, the C's introduced, and now the B is mad that the A sees the C. If you're watching this, you're following.
We get the drift. Okay, so swingers generally, they're just kind of looking for other like sexual experiences is what I find. Like swingers is more like, it's more sexual based and it's not supposed to be so much the emotional piece, right?
Sure.
And then polyamory is more like you're getting into more of having a committed relationship with, multiple individuals, right? But it's something that is committed and where there is communication and where, everyone knows about everybody else and that's what it's supposed to be, right? And then open relationships is like something in between, right? Where you might have a bit of an emotional connection. You may casually date. I'm
already confused.
Or I know.
I'm already confused. There's too many. I thought open was the other one and the other one was the other one.
Well, I know. Honestly, I'll be honest, even with open relationships, everyone's, as I said earlier, looks a little bit different, right? So it is basically what I do with clients is I start to get them to think about, what are going to be the rules within your relationship. Because the same way in a monogamous relationship, you guys have to have your own rules, your own boundaries. Same thing you have to do if you have an open relationship, right? Even more so, right? So you need to have those having those rules in place, I find kind of helps to guide, what the relationship looks like. Are we going to, are you going to see this person, multiple times in the week? How much information do I want to know about this, right? Or how much do I not want to know? All of these things are things to consider when you enter into an open relationship.
I guess, the premise of it is it boils down to communication. Oh, because when you said that, initially, I was thinking complete opposite. I'm like, well, if it's open, what needs to be discussed? It's open. What I do is my business. I offer my business and your business are your business. But you're saying you do still need boundaries.
Oh.
So let's talk about these boundaries.
Definitely.
Boundaries in intimate relationships, Dani. From a therapist point of view, this could be for, the open relationships or just even monogamous. That's the word we're using.
Yeah.
Monogamous, not polyamorous.
Some people, there's so many
Someone
different
out there
terms.
watching this is the same
There's
page as me.
also like monogamish, which means like they don't quite feel like they're open, but they're not quite monogamous.
Oh, not monogamous. No, monogamish.
Monogamish. I know, but there are many different terms. To be honest, I probably don't even know all of them at this point, right? But honestly, what it's about is you guys being on the same page, you guys wanting the same thing, and then you guys having that conversation about what are going to be the norms, or essentially like the rules or the norms in your relationship, and what are the boundaries. Like, where do you draw the line?
And is that something as a therapist that you will like run them through a sheet? Okay, let's make a list of questions to ask your partner.
Literally. Yeah, there is something similar to that. Like, basically, I usually go through like what are like, the 8 things that maybe we should kind of work through if you guys are going to be in the polyamorous relationship, especially if one person is kind of like maybe struggling with that, but is also still open to exploring it. Okay, how are we going to do this in a way where you feel safe, right? And you also feel like your opinion is being heard as well. Right?
I want to put this out there. Like I said, I just completed 6.5 months of therapy. And one thing my therapist did with me that was very helpful that I would not do on my own is create lists.
Ooh,
she was like, okay, we're going to write down a list of things that you would know if you were to fall into the space again. What would that list look like?
Ooh.
So I would identify, okay, if I know I need help again, I would look like this. Or, on the flip side, you're on track and somebody is good for you when, and we would make those lists.
Ooh,
so,
I like that.
Listen, some of y'all are thinking you don't need therapy, but therapy might just help you to create that list because you're not going to create that list on your own. Yeah. Which I think is super healthy.
Yeah, it is. It's a good chance for you to actually think about, as you said, what are those things that are important to you, right? For that future partner, like what are the qualities I'm looking for? What are the things that are my deal breakers that if this person, like if we're talking generally speaking, what are my deal breakers that if this person displays this quality, that doesn't work for me, right? What I always say is that if you have no boundaries, then it's going to be messy for you because you're not going to know when to say yes, when to say no, when to walk away. Everything is going to be very confusing for you, right? So I think why therapy helps and why I like to make sure that I'm also practicing what I preach in regards to therapy is because it helps you to identify what you really want and what are the things that are important to you and then to stick to those things. To stand on it, you know what I mean?
So now we're going down a little slope here. Oh, that's how real it gets, okay? And I'm going down the slope. Yeah. When we talk about therapy, aside from open relationships, as a therapist, do you go to therapy?
I actually just got a new therapist. Yeah, so I did go to therapy before, obviously. And then I had a little gap of time where I actually didn't have a therapist for a little bit. But then I was like, you know what, definitely I need to, get back on it. And and I have a brand new therapist. Yeah.
Fair. And I think that's the same structure for anyone who's watching this also with therapy. I think some people think when they're in therapy forever. Like you kind of go through therapy for that season. And once you graduate from the season, you kind of re-explore therapy if in the event that you need it again. Exactly. But it's not something that like your therapist should graduate you. Like you shouldn't be in therapy forever. I don't think that's the goal.
No, it's definitely not the goal. I'm always happy when a client tells me, you know what, actually, Danielle, I feel like I'm good. Like, I'm like, and especially when I've seen that they've made a lot of changes, I'm like, okay, well, you know what, I've done my job because you are now at a place where you feel like you're good, right? And obviously that might not last forever, as you said. You might explore that again down the line, but that is definitely the goal. There are some people, though, where they're going to be in for a longer time, depending on their issues, depending on their personal coping style, right? They might even just do, once a month opposed to like every week, right? So it's really up to the individual, and it's something that you and your therapist can have that conversation about together.
Okay, fair enough. And so when we talk about open relationships,
yes,
I just even want to open this to monogamish relationships, but with therapists.
Yes.
What does that look like? Because every relationship goes through shit. I don't want to sugarcoat it. Yeah. There's going to be times in anyone's relationship where they need a little bit of work to be done. Yes. What does that look like if a couple approaches you and they're like, we just need help? Like, someone's watching this, they're like, yo, maybe I need to explore couples therapy because shit is not working. What does that look like when they go to a therapist?
Okay, perfect. Actually, the majority of my clients, it's like half-half. I literally have half individual, half couples, because I really like working with couples, actually. So when a couple comes to me, firstly, what I like to do is talk to them in the initial consult, just kind of find out, why are you guys coming? Like, what is usually there is some primary issue why they're coming. Something has happened and they're like, okay, we need help, right? Or or one person is about to they're like, if we don't get therapy, I'm going to leave. So usually there's some presenting issue, right? The odd time, there's a couple who's just like, we just want to work on our relationship. And I think that's amazing though. And I wish more couples would do that rather than coming when there's some really big issue where it could literally go either way at that point, right? Mm-hmm. But anyway, so when they come, basically what happens is we have the first session. Each side kind of tells me what they believe to be the issues within their relationship. And then I actually give them the option of having their own separate sessions if there's anything else that they wanted to bring up that maybe they don't feel comfortable saying in front of their partner. And then I bring it, actually, everything that's said, though, we do bring it back to the main session, but maybe I'll help them to, bring that topic up.
Reword it.
Or, yeah, exactly. Find a better way to introduce it. And then we actually just start working through the issues that they've identified.
That sounds fair to me. As an honest disclaimer, I will be letting you know that your partner has said this about you.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, our main topic here is open relationships.
Yes.
So now we're talking about influence. I'm going to assume a lot of it has to do with hip hop culture, has to do with just, I don't know. I'm not sure. Can we categorize it as a sex addiction? Because I'd be looking at people who are the swingers and stuff like that, going to all these sex clubs and these. Is this a sex addiction or this is just people's preferences? I
think in some cases it can be an addiction, and in some cases it is preferences. Right? It's certain things are going to let you know when it's an addiction.
What are those?
What
is a sex addiction?
If you cannot stop, if you literally cannot stop, you are addicted. Right?
Yeah.
I think it's people think it's so complicated, but literally, if it's something that's taking over your day-to-day life, you can't get through your day without it, then you are addicted.
Is it fair to say even in a monogamous or monogamish relationship, if one partner just can't stop thinking about sex or just always needs sex, they're addicted?
Just because they can't stop thinking about sex?
All they want is sex. Sex. That's all on their mind.
Well, then they would be addicted.
And then do you see those cases where those people now decide to step out or maybe they need to explore, maybe an open relationship is for you because your partner is not
it's not an Energizer bunny. Yeah, they can't keep going. Yeah. And there are some times where people have said they're in a relationship. They say, I love this person. This is my person, but they can't keep up with their sexual drive. Right. And then they want it to be open. Right. And I think at that point, that's where the boundaries come in, right? Are you willing to, be open to explore that? Or is that your boundary where you're like, no, I don't want to do this, right? And I think the issue that a lot of us have is that we don't have those firm boundaries, especially when our heart is in it. Then it's like, our boundary can kind of bend now, right? Now maybe I'm willing to do this when really that was never something I had thought of or that was on my mind before, right? So that's why I always say that boundaries are so important, because if you don't have them, then you're pretty vulnerable to just getting into situations that you may not want, that may not be serving you.
Right.
And yeah.
So this is sparking something in my mind.
Yeah.
I always hear men's sexual drive is different than a woman's sexual drive. As a therapist, break this down for us. Okay? Because I always hear, men just have different needs than women. And it's not personal. Men are just designed a certain way. Is this true? Is this a myth?
Okay.
What does this look like? Especially when it comes to open relationships or just monogamous relationships that have to turn open relationships. What does that look like in terms of men's sex drives versus women?
Okay. So I will even say, even with my couples that are just monogamous, right? If they're having issues with their sexual intimacy and things like that, one of the questions I ask is, how many times a week would you say you would want to have sex, you would want to be intimate, right? Just to see where each person is on that like continuum.
What's a very average answer for the nosy people out there?
Stop this.
What's a very average answer?
I find men typically, right? And obviously there is the odd woman like who is wants it more than the male too. So it's not, but I would say on a whole, in my experience, it has been more the men that want it more often and the women that usually have a lower number per week, right? Men are like pretty much like every day or like every other day, right? Where women might have a more like a little bit of a lower number, right? Yeah. So I guess that does show that, you know, there's obviously differences there, right? But I think also when you're in a relationship, you know, the more things that are added to it too, right? Children, house, bills, not to say that that's an excuse, but I think that all of those things do impact on the, you know, frequency of being intimate.
So do you think as a therapist, like when couples come to you and they're like, we're at an imbalance in terms of our sexual needs and desires, do you encourage the woman to just submit to your man and do what as he needs? Or do you try to influence a man to like understand maybe the woman has all these things on her plate? Or is there a middle ground?
Exactly. I think it's always a compromise, right? It's trying to get, obviously, I actually have people paraphrase what the other person has said, right? Or maybe try to get in the shoes of their partner and how they're feeling and where they feel they're coming from. Because I think it's really important for them to meet in the middle, right? And that doesn't mean like, oh, she said 2 days, you said 7 days, so it's gonna be what would that be, like 5, right? Or something like
Let's
that.
Schedule an appointment.
Right? But it is in a sense something like that. It's like we want to get to a place where both of us are being satisfied. And if there is no middle ground that can be worked out, then maybe this relationship isn't it, because we just are too different in terms of our needs in that way, right? So obviously every relationship, there has to be some compromise, but you have to see if you're able to come to a middle ground.
So in that sense, some open relationships might be healthy, or like exploring other options where you can get your needs met. Because enough of the men them tell me, they're like, yo, listen, you're going to have to settle for a man who cheats on you. I'm telling you. Because they're just like, I'm just being honest, okay? The guys that you want, they're going to cheat. the good guys that aren't going to cheat, you don't want them.
I've heard the same thing. I've heard like my guy friends say similar things. And
I don't want no swinger, eh? I just don't want a swinger.
But you're okay if he cheats?
I'm not okay with it, but I don't know. Based on like how the mechanics of people's minds work, yeah, some guys are just like, yeah, for sure. Like he might not let you know. Oh, but he will. The guy that he will, as long as you don't know though. I don't know but listen, I'm not open. I don't want nobody to introduce no third party, fourth party. Like, are you kidding? That's not me.
Do you believe that? Do you believe that all men are just gonna cheat?
No. But maybe it's the man that are like, you're naive to believe if the man if he's not going to. So I feel like I've been in an instance where I know I'm around a lot of females who more might be like, okay, well, if this is the case, let me try to satisfy him with opening up our relationship. Because I swear down, I feel like there's been a lot of people where I'm around. I'm like, I never would have thought you were like this.
You would have been open to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe
I think a lot of it too is like, okay. It's very hard to say, right? Because sometimes it's like, are you just doing this to keep this person because you're afraid if they leave, you're not going to be able to get someone else who you feel the same way about? Is that the reason why you're doing it? And I actually explore some of those things in therapy. You know, I actually will ask those like hard questions and even say that to some people, right? You want to make sure you're not doing this just to please the other partner and you're not happy in this yourself. Right? Because as you said, people who you knew their, like, I guess their, you know, what you knew of them in terms of the values that they held, it wasn't in alignment basically with what they were doing, right?
They know it would make their man happy, so they just decide to like, you know, jump into something.
And while I think, hey, if you're actually open to it and you want to try it and see if it's something that can work for you, great. I actually have some couples where I actually think it works well for them. And then I have some couples where I think you're clearly just doing this to please him, but you have to also come to that realization. Right? So that's why I also say that, you know, boundaries again, you know, if you don't know what you, if you can't identify and be honest with yourself about what you do want and what you don't want, then it's going to be really difficult for you to have a successful relationship in any sense.
Well, that's good. That's good to know from a therapist point of view, because I can't confidently say that I know any relationship that entertains other parties. Every single one of them that I know, at some point, somebody feels a way about something. So I'm always just like, listen, if you're going to entertain like other people, don't get mad. Don't get mad when shit hits the fan and now you're jealous because your feelings, because it's just like, yo, it's hard to turn off feelings for somebody in that way. It's kind of inevitable, right? So I guess even having conversations like this, that's why I'm more open to it. Because, you know, like, just bring me through this mind map. Maybe I'm a little bit more naive towards people who do this. I don't want to, I'm not saying I look down on anybody, but I'm just like, yo, at some point, there's gonna be some kind of feelings and somebody's gonna feel a way about somebody. So like, let's just keep it as you and them, and then you only have to worry about their feelings and your feelings and nobody else's feelings. You know what I mean? Because what are we talking about? Oh, they're cheating on you. You already done cheated on each other in front of each other. Do you get what I'm saying?
Like, you basically just openly cheated on each other.
You guys are
right?
openly doing it, but I guess we have to be very sensitive in this day and age that that's not politically correct, because if people decide to do that,
I think honestly, everyone's a consenting adult, right? So people have to choose what works for them, right? And as I said, I do have some couples where I actually feel like for them, like, yeah, I see this is working. This is working for you guys, for your lifestyle. Maybe one person, you know, truly knows they don't really like sex that much, but they still want to be with this person. And for them, maybe that works with their partner being able to, you know, get that need satisfied elsewhere.
Okay, I'm a client. I'm coming to you. My partner doesn't like sex as much as I do. What can they do? Can someone work on their sex drive?
Of course.
How?
Yep.
Someone needs, I mean, this is like a free game. You have to actually book a session with Dani.
I know,
if you
right?
actually want real game. You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, preliminary. What does someone do if they need more little kick in their sex drive?
Well, firstly, I also like, and this is getting way deeper, right? This is like session stuff.
Of course,
but we also try to look for like, what is the reason why it is that low? Right? Like, what is the reason? Because usually there is something there. Why, if like the person doesn't want to have sex at all, or it's very low, there's some reason behind that, right? So we usually like to get into that. That's why I also say that when people come for couples therapy, it's really good when they're also doing their own therapy. I know that can get a little costly unless your work is paying for it, but if you can, it's good, because usually, as I said, there's something else deeper there. Why? And maybe even for the person who, you know, if they're an addict, there's something deeper there too, right? That needs to be worked on their own, and then they can kind of come together.
That answers a lot, actually, because I feel a lot of people, like, their first thing is like, we're in an issue in a relationship. Let's go for couples therapy, but maybe individual therapy first, or simultaneously while you're doing it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Fair enough. And I mean, okay, so open relationship. Let's just touch on cheating real quick. We always want to talk about cheating.
Well, it's a common thing. Yeah.
Why do you believe, as a therapist, when people come to you and they're like, yo, I'm dealing with a little bit of infidelity, what is your initial like questions? Like, what do you ask people?
Well, what
made you do it?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's a very fair question. Some people can answer and some people can't. You know that, right? And so I've had people who are like, I honestly don't know why I did. You know, I really love this person. I really can't even tell you, like, but usually it's something like, you know, they feel like they weren't getting the same attention. They weren't getting, you know, maybe that person was, as I said, working a lot. Maybe, you know, that person, to be honest, maybe they're no longer attracted to that person the way that they used to be. Right. So it can be for a variety of reasons, to be honest, why people cheat. So to say that there's like one reason, there's so many different reasons why people step out. But I think when both parties still have that longing to make the relationship work, I think it is something that could potentially be worked through. But obviously that depends on each person's individual boundary. Like, some people could say, hey, if you cheat once, I'm done. That's it. Hey, you have to respect it, right? And some other people can. So honestly, everything is about, you know, you having your boundaries, individual choices, communication, and working through things together, and both parties being willing to work on things.
And a lot of time people will need a third party.
Yeah.
Because two
They're gonna
people
argue.
a lot. I mean, I'm speaking from personal opinion or experience.
Yeah.
A lot of times with certain people I was around, there's no way we're sitting down talking about this. You actually need somebody else to be like, okay, well, give this person a chance to talk.
Yes.
Therapy could be a really healthy option for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And especially when it comes down to, trying to navigate and, not really put it on blast too much. But like, I mean, I've cheated in my past and now I could probably be like, people like, why'd you do it? And I'll be able to tell you why now. But then I actually think I was probably like, I wasn't mindful because I don't think cheating is it's not a mindful thing. You don't think about it. It just happens. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of people probably be like, what do you mean you don't know why? Hey, you just did it. Like, I don't know, you weren't thinking about it. That's the reason why you did do it, because you didn't think about it. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying. But maybe
mindfulness is maybe something that we need to put it out there. In relationships, you need to be very mindful about the other partner, right?
Yes.
Everything boils down to mindfulness. And is that something that somebody can work on?
Oh, 100%. You can obviously become more mindful, become more conscious of the choices that you're making, think of the end result of the choices that you're making, right? And also, I think that there's different types of cheating too. There's like, you went away on a vacation to, Mexico and you cheated once there. And then there's, and not to say that one is better than the other. And then there's, you're having an ongoing relationship.
That is
for
definitely worse,
years,
Dani. Not one is worse than the other, but that one is definitely worse. An ongoing cheating thing is definitely worse.
Well, there you go, right? So, and someone could have a boundary that, hey, if they did it a one-off, I can forgive that. But if it's an ongoing thing, I'm not going to forgive that, right? But it's a matter of fact of you actually sitting down and thinking about,
what's your personal boundary?
Yeah, what is your personal boundary?
And as a therapist, do you ever have to put your own feelings aside to just be like, because if it was me, I'm putting myself, I don't think I could be a therapist.
No.
Because I would be like, bitch, are you crazy? Are you crazy? You better walk right now. You better leave right now. But then you have to, your main objective is to help these people. So what does that look like? Because I've had so many questions I want to ask my therapist.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to be too intrusive because I wanted to get her, like, I know she's trying to help me, but like, what's your real opinion? Like, what are you really thinking about me? You think I'm fucked up? You know what I'm saying? Do you ever look at your patients and you're just like, yo, you're a riot?
So, definitely. Like, there are some like clients where I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Right. But you can't, obviously, we're not here to tell you what to do, right? I'm here to help you organize your own thoughts and make the best decision, make the decision that's best for you. And that's what I think is the technique of actually being a therapist, right? It's actually we all have the answers to what we need to do inside of ourselves, right? It's just about helping that come to the surface, right? That's what I think, because it doesn't help me to tell you, no, you shouldn't be in any open relationship. Like, why? I can't do that, I'm not you, you're not me, right? So it's about exploring yourself and seeing what's best for you. And that's what I always say in terms of therapy. It's about relationships. It's about your relationships with other people, and most importantly, the relationship with yourself, right? And helping you to better navigate that relationship.
Fair. I will second and reiterate that because I do find my therapist was never like, don't do this. She would be like, well, what would happen if you did do this?
There you go.
Honestly, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this for anyone. It wasn't a 9 out of 10 times. It was a 10 out of 10 times. I always had my own answers. I figured out everything I needed to figure out on my own, just with my therapist guiding me, which was such a trip. Because I'm a very stubborn and hard-headed person. You think me, I went a long time without therapy. I did a lot of shit that I probably shouldn't have done. But then when I got to therapy, I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me surrender. I can't figure this out. Let me do it. And lo and behold, the answers were right in front of me. I just needed somebody to guide me. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but therapy is a very healthy option. If you see there's some reoccurring patterns, reoccurring situations in your life, and you need to get a breakthrough from them, therapy might be something really good to go through.
Yeah.
And also, I want to share, because probably some people in this room don't know, as Canadian citizens with OHIP, we are entitled to free therapy, like free 99. And one time I had gone on and made a post about it, followed up, and I'm like, it's shit. Because I did. I went to all you got to do, you go to your family doctor, You tell them, I need to speak to somebody about something, right? I went to a program. I saw a psychotherapist. He did this, analysis of me, and then he put me in a program.
Yeah.
I had to read modules and then show up to my coach. I'm like, this is non-conducive because when I get overwhelmed, I don't be doing shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not going to read these modules and show up to no coach. And then they threaten you, say like, oh, you didn't do the modules. Now you've missed a session. So I'm like, I don't like it. They're like, try it. I did it for 4 sessions. I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
And it took a long time because free healthcare doesn't mean good healthcare. It just means free healthcare, right? So I had to advocate for my own health. I'm like, no, I need therapy, but I don't like this. And here I am. 6.5 months later, I did like one-on-one therapy on Zoom with a psychotherapist.
Oh.
For 6.5 months.
Oh, so that was still the one that was free through OHIP.
It was free. I did 6.5 months for free because I was paying $150 for 50 minutes.
No,
which,
I know.
And I don't have benefits, right? So maybe, people do, you can explore that. But but I mean, for someone who's watching this, there are pay scales I've heard for therapists.
Oh yeah, there are sliding scales, something called sliding scale, basically where the therapist may be willing to offer you a lower rate, maybe based on your income or your financial situation, right?
Right.
Sometimes they have maybe more junior therapists doing that too, right? Like on their team if they have a team of people. Gotcha. So there's many different options. I find that what people often say when they get through OHIP or maybe through their work, they say that it's not someone that's really representing them and that it's hard to find a good fit that way. So I'm not surprised that you had to kind of finagle it a little bit, but you got lucky in the end. So that worked out well. I got lucky
that I like my therapist. Not everyone likes your therapist. You got to shop.
Oh, I always tell people you have to shop around. Even when I do my first 15-minute consult, I say, have you had a consultation with anyone else? Because if you haven't, I would actually urge you to do so because you want to make sure that it's the appropriate fit for you. Right? I've had people ask me, like we were saying earlier, right? I've had people ask me, how old are you? Like, have you been in a long-term relationship? Have you been married? Right? And I actually don't mind those questions because I realize that maybe you're looking for a particular skill set. Right? And so I'm actually okay with those questions. I know every therapist is a little bit different in terms of their comfortability answering certain things, but I think you also have to interview your therapist. You are doing that, right? And it goes both ways. Your therapist also should be able to say, if they really don't have the capacity to help you with your issue, they should also be able to say that, maybe we're not a good fit. I know this other therapist, or let me help point you in the right direction.
Well, y'all hear the Parker conversation. I interviewed your therapist for you. You don't gotta look more further. If you need somebody, couples therapy, freaky therapy, swingers therapy, all them things. You know what I mean? Dani seems like a very reasonable person to check out. And even if I didn't have $150 to pay for 50-minute sessions, I would pay that money to see you.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Because you're very open. But if you were to leave the people with one, I don't know who needs to hear this. Something on your chest today. I don't know who needs to hear this. After that, Cameron, let them know.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but when you start out any relationship, y'all should probably go to therapy. Don't come to me when you in crisis. Come to me before that and actually get those tools so that you guys can have a healthy relationship.
I like that. Hear the Parker conversation, healthy relationships, one conversation at a time. If you need a car, though, one car at a time. Boom. Can be here. Total alignment. That's all we want. 2024, rest of our lives, total alignment. Until next time, peace.
Yeah. Thank you.
I don't know if you can hear this thing.